So this is Hello, whoever just dropped into the chat. In retrospect, having a Sunday stream on Mother's Day was probably not the greatest idea that I've ever had. Hey Val, good to see you. It was probably, I don't know if you caught um, I don't know if you caught what I just said, but having a Sunday stream on Mother's Day was probably not the greatest idea that I've had in my life. Happy Mother's Day. Are you doing anything to celebrate? Yeah, I can think of a lot of things that people would probably rather be doing. I forget what the last. There was another Sunday stream I did. I don't remember when it was. It was like two streams ago that I. There was something else that day. There was something else, some other holiday, some other like family related holiday that it happened to be on. Let me see if I can find when it was. I was like, I mean, this is sort of the issue with doing with my stream day being Sundays is that it catches all of like the family Sunday holidays that people are actually doing things with their families on. So I'm not. I don't know. I stopped by my parents' house earlier today to spend some time with my mom. I bought her a card um, and dropped that off for her and spent some time hanging out with her. And she was cooking cupcakes. So I stole a cupcake from her on my way out. I'm pretty fortunate in that my parents live pretty close by, so I can drop in to see them whenever I'd like, which is nice. Um, but yeah, maybe the next Sunday live stream I do will not on be on a family holiday, and I will actually get some people in here. So we will see. I don't know. Um, it's a piece of fluff floating through the basement. But I don't know when the next time I'll be streaming is. I'm trying to think if I have anything going on next weekend. Um, Check my calendar. Don't. Oh, no, I probably should be. Yeah, I am still sort of. I used it to record the K688. That is, I used it to record my latest video, and I will be on. I have no idea how I sound right now, in terms of general sound quality and gain. I think I have set the gain correctly so that it's just peeking into the yellow on OBS whenever I talk. So hopefully this sounds okay. I normally use for my live streams. I normally use the this Yamaha AG01, which is entirely overkill for my needs because I'm not doing like. Or this is really intended as like a streamer microphone, where people are actually playing games, and there's a ton of I don't know if you can see, but there's a ton of like, let me see if I can actually just unscrew this. There's a ton of like additional functionality on the Yamaha that I've just never used. So I'm gonna hold this up to the mic. Or hold this up to the camera. Let's see if I can block it from. There we go. So there's all this like extra mix functionality where there's like a loop back, and I don't know. I've never used any of it. So I think in retrospect, this was a poor investment given how expensive the mic was, because I think that a lot of the price is really wrapped up in the extra features that are more intended for people who are more serious about live streaming than I am. But I don't know. I like the way it sounds. It sounds a little bright, I think. It's a very detailed sounding microphone. Whereas the Fifine is it's much more of like a broadcast style sound, I think. I think that's what I would describe it as. Just looking at it and, based on the design, I would say that it's much more of it's attempting to be like a ultra budget what's the word? What's the mic? The SM7B. I think it's much more trying to go for that kind of more podcasty type sound, or like more like radio type sound. And I normally use for my normal YouTube videos, I normally use the Rode NT1. That's my go-to mic. That's what I have running into the Zoom F3. And I think of the three mics that I currently own, that's the one I like the most. It's the most neutral sounding to me. So the AG01's a little bright. This is very relaxed to my ears, and the NT1 is somewhere in the middle, which I generally prefer. I was one of those people, like I used a Blue Yeti for literally over like 10 years. I bought it very I think I was in high school that I bought it. I don't think it was. It may have actually been middle school. I would need to look up the purchase date on that particular microphone. But I bought the Blue Yeti in like 2010, 2011, 2012, and I used it for over 10 years until it the mic, I'm trying to remember exactly what happened to it. I think the USB port actually wore out, or like because like I took it apart. I still have the parts because I tried to get it repaired or replaced by Yeti, but obviously after 10 years, they weren't exactly going to honor the warranty. So, which I'm not particularly mad about. I definitely got my money's worth out of that microphone, but I took it apart in an attempt to fix it, and I got close to identifying, I think, what had happened. Actually, if you give me 2 seconds, I'll be right back, and I'm going to grab it out of my parts drawer, and I will show you exactly what is wrong with it. Be right back. Oh, that's right. Yeah, so I don't know if you could. I have to get. I have to block the. Always have to block the thing from seeing my face. Can you focus? Can you focus, please? There we go. So I don't know if you can see. Um, there's a blue wire and a red wire, and then there's a third black wire, and the JST connector for the black wire, I think, just completely disintegrated, which actually makes me wonder if I could just. I don't know why I didn't think of this before, but I could probably just solder the these two wires. There's a ground wire, um, there's a white wire and a black wire that I could just solder to the contact points, and I might be able to get it to work again. But what had happened is the excuse me um, the JSD connector, like the white snappy part that connects the circuit board of the microphone to the capsule, to the actual microphone capsule. It looked to me like it had just disintegrated. So it was no longer connected, which again makes me think that, and I may need to try this after the stream, is just see if I can solder it back together like directly to it. So that will be interesting. I don't know. Sorry, now I'm distracted and trying to like fit the circuit board back together. This is the you've got me. You got me rambling, or what is it? You got me monologuing. That's the quote. You got me monologuing. Anyway, I'm gonna put this to the side before I get even more distracted. I have not heard. I have not heard the cipher. I haven't heard any of the. I haven't heard any of the Theaudio over ear stuff. I have a couple. I had two of the Kiwi Ears over ear Bluetooth headphones that were like kind of, I think, designed as competitors to the Moondrop Edge. I didn't review them here on the channel, but I did written reviews of them quite some time ago. They were not my favorite, but I don't know how much they I don't know how much they have in common with the Theaudio stuff. That's good. Yeah, how much are those? The cipher, that is. I as you are probably well aware, I'm mostly an IEM guy, and my most expensive pair of uh, over ear headphones is the Moondrop Para, the Gen 1, which I was sent for review. And then I have a pair of Hi-Fi Man 400 SEs that I bought myself. They were on like super duper clearance on Amazon. I think they were like $90, $99, something like that. The best pair of over-ear headphones that I have personally owned were the EMU Teaks, but it's been a long time since I've had those. I really liked them, and I regret selling them, but I was a broke college student, and I really only had this. I might have sold them after I moved into this house, but I think what happened was I sold the Teaks after I moved into this house and had a basement that I could actually use my speakers in. Like, oh, well, if I have speakers, I don't need over-ear headphones, because the reason I had the reason I had been using the EMU Teaks for like most of my personal music listening at the time. This was 8 or 9 years ago, but the reason I was using the Teaks for most of my music listening was because I was living in a one-bedroom apartment, and my wife spent most of her time in the living room uh, where my desktop was set up. Like her favorite chair was on one side of the room, and the desk was on the other. And she didn't like me listening to music on speakers while she was in the room. Excuse me. So that's what I had the Teaks for. I originally had a pair. I'm trying to think of the sequencing. I think I had a pair of DT770s, the 250 ohm version, and then I sold those. I actually got them modded to have a removable like mini XLR connection, but then I sold them and I bought the uh, what's it called? The Mastrop TH. Uh, it's the Mastrop Fostex headphones. I forget what they're called. I forget what the model name is. But I had those, and then that led me to upgrade to the Teaks. I can see that I'm shaking the camera down here. I have the camera mounted up to a magic arm up above my monitors, but whenever I hit the desktop, it is shaking the camera, which is not great. Um, but anyway, uh, I definitely regret selling the Teaks because they were really really good headphones. Um, but from there, I think there was a period of time where, um, yeah, I have very sensitive ears. Like the skin in my ears is very sensitive, and for a while there was a time that I was really struggling with wearing IEMs, and this was, honestly, I really credit, like, if someone had not, if they hadn't invented liquid silicone ear tips, I would not be able to enjoy IEMs to the degree that I do now, which is, you know, I mean, it's great that they did, and it's great that, I now have an option for ear tips that doesn't, like, really irritate my ears, because it was bad. It was really bad for a number of years. Um, yeah, I have a lot. I think the first pairs of liquid silicone ear tips that that I ever really tried were the Hexa ear tips. Are the white ones are one of the few regular silicone ear tips that don't irritate my ears too badly. But I think the first liquid silicone ear tips that I tried were the soft ears ones, the UC, the ultra clear, and that was like, oh, I can actually wear IEMs for a long period of time and not have my ears turn into a peely mess. So that was, honestly, like, life changing for me. Like I don't want to put too fine a point on it, but it really made a huge difference. I think so. I would assume that you can buy them on their own, because like, particularly if you go to AliExpress, I'm sure you can find them on their own, or maybe Shenzhen Audio has them, um, because I don't actually own any soft ears. I don't actually own any soft ears IEMs, and I have a bunch of soft ears UC tips. Um, I think they may have They may have been included with some Moondrop IMs over the years, but I can't remember which models off the top of my head. So this must have been before Moondrop came out with the spring tips. I think there was a period where Moondrop was including the. Okay, cool. But I think there was a period where Moondrop was actually including UC tips with, LE is Leyen Audio, which is the parent company of Shenzhen Audio. I don't think the spring tips are liquid silicone. I don't think so. I think they're just silicone, but I am not 100% sure. My favorite liquid silicone ear tips are actually the Hibby WG01s. They have, see if I can dig them out of my drawer. No, where are they? Yeah. So this is, see if it'll focus. Yeah. So these ones actually have an integrated waveguide. This one's really yellow. It's kind of gross. But they have an integrated waveguide inside the bore of the ear tip, which is pretty cool. And it could well be placebo. Yeah, the WG01s. It could well be placebo, but I swear that they improve detail retrieval for me on the IMs that I've used them on. I use them for the Moondrop S8 and the IO Audio Volare. I use them for both of those ear tips. I'm gonna clean this before. Yeah, how much? Well, you get a 3-pack with the 01s, with the WG01s. But the thing about the WG01s is that they're all the tips. I feel like it's the opposite problem that one normally has with ear tips, in that instead of the ear tips being too small, all of the WG01 sizes are too large. And like if you have a pair of IMs that has a deep insertion depth, the smallest size is like the best size to use. But the larger sizes are just outrageously large, which for example, the Dunu Vulcan has one of the worst fits I have ever encountered on an IM, and the only set of tips that I have ever found to do a good job of actually like keeping the Dunu Vulcan in my ears is one of the larger sizes of Hibby WG01 tips. So, but highly recommend them. I mean, and yeah, it's I think I think I I think so for I think an example of like harmless placebo, like I think the difference between, when it comes to audio, there is so much that is like that you there is no way to tell if for many people, myself included, there are a lot of like tweaks in the audio chain that I honestly can't tell whether they're making a difference or not. And like some days it feels like they make a difference, and some days it doesn't. So I think lossless audio itself is one of those things. I mean, I love that Spotify now has CD quality audio, and I'm one of those people. I think we've talked about this before. I'm one of those people where I'm like, I don't really care about bit perfect. It's not an important thing to me. So just having the higher bit rate file is enough. But I was totally fine with the highest quality. I believe it was Og Vorbis is Spotify's compressed codec. I was totally fine with that, and like switching between local FLAC on my desktop and the highest quality compressed audio on Spotify. Like I couldn't hear a difference. I don't like I particularly I don't know. I that's one example of things where like I'm glad that Spotify is throwing in lossless audio for not more money now. I don't think. I can't remember if they. I don't think they are charging additional for lossless versus the base premium price, which I was already paying. But I've been a Spotify subscriber since they launched in the U.S. in 2012, and I'm not going anywhere. They have the best music discovery features. They have the best. They have the best recommendation algorithm, and the degree to which they have integrated AI in interesting and tasteful ways is the most appealing to me. Like they have a new feature where you can use prompts to generate playlists, and it's actually really really good. Like I asked it for a pretty niche recommendation, not recommendation, but I asked it to generate a pretty niche micro genre of playlist for me, and it did a great job. So I was very impressed. I need to experiment some more with that. Where was I going with this? But just lossless audio in general for me is almost like it doesn't cost me anything interesting. It doesn't cost me anything extra to have lossless, and like at home on my Wi-Fi network, there's no penalty to using lossless with Spotify, so I'm just going to use lossless. So I don't know if I can hear a difference, but it's not hurting anything by listening to lossless as opposed to listening to high quality compressed. Yeah, so what it does is that you when you go to the let me pull it up right now. When you go to the Create tab, you can go to what's called Prompted Playlist. If I can get out of frame here. There we go. So, like, it picks music for the playlist for you based on the prompt. So, like, I asked for a dark Victorian ambient playlist based on specifically Atrium Carceri's soundtrack for The Old City, which is a video game, like a walking simulator from like 2015. and it delivered. I was really impressed with the music that it picked for this playlist. Um, it curates it for you, which is just awesome. Um, like I have consistently found that the degree to which Spotify learns and respects your listening preferences when it comes to the playlists that it generates for you, and the degree to which um, they keep implementing features which I find useful. As far back as like the daily playlists that they have, where they have I think 6 daily playlists, or six like different, like they separate your music taste into 6 different bins, and every couple of days you get a new playlist that is in that bin of genres and subgenres, to the fact that they've had a feature for a while where you can just search for something. You can just search for a certain mood or a certain genre, and Spotify will essentially have a playlist that meets those criteria. Um, that it essentially, I don't know if it's like, I don't know how much of it is pre-populated, or um, how much of it is, generated on the fly. So, like, for example, I have, what you basically do is you search for um, a genre or a mood or an activity paired with a genre. So, like, running rock or video game music or party rap, and it will generate it pulls a playlist based on the mood or genre that uh, you have asked for, which I think is tremendously useful and is something I use all the time. What streaming service do you use? If you use streaming services, I realize not everyone does. Uh, yeah, because I have, I can absolutely hear like, I can't necessarily hear the difference between high quality compressed music on an actual streaming service, like their high quality preset or whatever. Um, oh man, that is a blast from the past. Do you remember Final Fantasy Shrine? I feel like that you're probably one of the few people who would actually like know what I'm talking about when I say that. Because, Final. Oh, damn. So, Final Fantasy Shrine was like the OG video game music posting forum for, um, not necessarily like, all this stuff was posted, on the high seas, like none of it was legal, but it was one of the OG forums for posting video game music, and I used it from, uh, oh man, from high school, if not earlier, well into adulthood. Um, it's very similar to Insider, I think, or it was very similar to KH Insider, but there was a huge community. It's migrated over to a website called Squidboard. I think in large part has become the replacement. I am not going to link to it, but I will read you the URL if you are interested. Um, It is it's squid.board.org, and they have what is, in my opinion, I think it's the best place to find video game music in high quality formats on the internet right now, without diving deep into like private trackers, I guess. Um, so that's where when I am downloading video game music or soundtracks specifically, that's where I go to download stuff in FLAC. But man, I haven't I haven't thought about Final Fantasy Shrine in a long time. So, thanks for that. Um, I don't know. I think it's interesting, to be perfectly honest with you. I am with with the death of forums in large part, and the migration of people to Facebook community groups over the last really 10 years or so. Um, I am perpetually amazed and impressed that HeadFi is still as healthy as it is. Um, I don't know how they've managed to do it, to be honest with you. Like, because I yes, there are a lot of audio Facebook groups, a lot of them that are tangential to reviewers themselves. Like, it seems like every major reviewer has their own like little community Facebook group for discussing audio, which I will post reviews to, but I don't run one myself because I do not have the time to moderate a Facebook community group. Um, but I think there is something supremely underrated about um, about having a centralized chronological repository of information. Um, I think that I honestly feel like the review section is less useful than the threads themselves. So I spend a lot of time in the discovery thread on HeadFi. That's my favorite thread on the site by far. It moves really fast. People are always always posting, and just the speed at which that thread moves is a little intimidating. Like, I will not check it for a week, and there'll be 100 plus pages on the site, or on that thread, that I will have to catch up on. Um, but it's there's a very dedicated crew of like regular posters who are, many of them are either reviewers on HeadFi or elsewhere, or they just, a lot of what people do, I think, is they just post impressions to the thread. They don't necessarily write dedicated reviews or do dedicated reviews on other platforms, but they will write helpful impressions in the discovery thread itself, and that's usually where I get a lot of my audio news, really, about like new releases, is through that thread. I will put it in the chat. Um, I mean, they're just oh, I've missed a lot. Um, They are over 12,000 pages in this thread, which is a lot. But, you know, every day there's multiple pages in this thread, which is just, again, it's intimidating, but I have found that trying to keep up with it is a losing battle. And it's best just to go in and see what's been posted and in the last couple days, the last couple pages, and just absorb it in bite-sized morsels, one at a little bit at a time. I don't necessarily recommend doing what I do, which is try to actually keep up with it. But I think that at any given point, it's a good snapshot of what is going on specifically in the IM world. It's one thing. One thing I've seen a lot of feedback about online about this particular mic is that the handling noise is very bad. So tap the seems not great. But if you're not handling the mic, I guess it doesn't matter. Yeah, I mean it's a lot. It's a long thread. So I don't recommend trying to recommend trying to keep up with it because you will be unsuccessful. Yeah, I'm not really a mic hand holder, so it doesn't really affect me either. I'm not one of those people, like, I'm trying to think what exactly. I'm trying to think back to how I recorded my, not my CanJan impressions, but my Capital Audio Fest impressions. I think I had a small, like, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's almost like a lav mic style. It wasn't a lav mic, but it was a microphone on the end of a small, like, almost proboscis like attachment, is like a flexible tube that I plugged directly into my microphone, and the sound was not great. I mean, that whole video was kind of not. I tried really hard, but it was not my best work because I was trying to deliver. I was essentially trying to capture my impressions, contemporaneously at the show. So I was making notes in the listening rooms and then essentially escaping onto the balcony and then trying to run through all of my thoughts without a real script, or without, not even with I normally record my videos with a teleprompter. So trying to do impressions at an event without a script and without a teleprompter was really hard. So that video did not perform well because I am not a vlogger. But the moral of the story is that I think there are a lot of people who will, I guess for the sake of interactivity and visual interest, either hold their DJI style wireless mics in their hand and like hold it up to their face, or they will hand hold a shotgun mic, which I think is not necessarily best practice. I mean, I've tried to do it, and I don't think it sounds great. The one shotgun mic that I have is not. I don't think it has bad handling noise, but I don't think it's how those mics are supposed to be used. But I am one of those people, I would rather have the mic in the shot, um, podcast style, where the stand is holding it up to my mouth, as opposed to trying to get the mic outside of the shot, with like a shotgun mic and a boom arm. So, I don't know. That's one thing I would like to at some point invest in a better quality shotgun mic. I think that the one that I have sounds great. Um, I think that the thing about face cam stuff is that for me, I mean, you well know I'm still struggling with this. Is people assuming that I'm an AI avatar, because I don't blink apparently whenever I am, like, the takes of my script that actually make into the final videos are blinkless, um, to a surprising degree, and I have to remind myself to emote, while I am recording the video, to a large degree. I have to consciously move my face and like emote with my face while I'm recording videos, which maybe is a problem you wouldn't have, and maybe you would be great at it. Um, so, um, I think that particularly if you're doing, I mean, you do gaming streams, right? So I don't know that, um, like, if you're not, I feel like the bar to having, I don't know the right way to put this exactly. Um, it's not that the bar is lower, but I feel like the expectations are different. If you're streaming gaming, it's like the important. It seems like the important part of being a gaming streamer is being able to react and give context in, an authentic way, as opposed to being super polished. Um, that's just that would be my take, I think. Um, but yeah, you certainly wouldn't need a teleprompter for that. I think the difficulty for me, even in this setup right now, is that I cannot, because I am trying to monitor, the chat and myself. I guess me is the I'm trying to be able to monitor the chat, um, at the same time that the camera is looking at me, which limits where I can put the camera. Um, so this is pretty far from what I would consider to be an ideal angle. I mean, it's more ideal than I think when I had my, I used to have my camera down here during the live streams on like a mini tripod, firing up at me. And maybe you can tell me if you preferred that angle to what I have going on right now. But I feel like getting the sort of lighting that I would want in a shot, is a lot harder in a live stream, than it is, at least in my basement office, is a lot harder in a live stream than when you're doing a video where you don't need to see the computer screen. So, um, I think trying to get an image that I've been happy with, in a live stream is a lot harder than getting an image that I'm happy with, in in a video, like a regular video. Like even now, I'm not thrilled with specifically like the lighting setup that I have right now. I think that it looks kind of flat, because I just have uh, the tube light that is bouncing off of the ceiling on this side of me, and then I have my softbox up behind me, because I probably am going to try and record another video later today. I have it's going to be interesting, actually. I have a video that I shot this past week that hopefully will be releasing on this Friday. It's going to be a video, it's going to be a breaking down my like studio setup, and like all of my lighting equipment specifically, but it contains a what is essentially a commercial in the opening of the video, because I was approached by a smart blinds manufacturer who wanted me to showcase one of their products on the channel. And the last I heard, they are saying that they will, they wanted to post it on their channel. Like they wanted to post the whole video on their channel, which I don't know if I want to do that. And I'm gonna send an email to the contact that I had with who arranged the sample for me this week, and be like, you know, I think I want to post it on my channel. I can tag your channel as a collaborator in the post, but I think it makes more sense to post it on my channel. But we will see how that shakes out. But I forgot where I was going with this. But I have that video coming out this coming week. I finished up the last couple of edits that I needed to right before this stream, actually. So that will be coming out soon. And then I think it's I don't know if you saw, and if you or the other person in the stream wants to offer their opinion. But I posted a poll on a post on the on my like community page about what people actually want to see next, in terms of what they want my next video to be, and it was not super helpful, because all I learned from that poll was that people do not want to see my breakdown of the rig that I used in Vietnam, which is sad because that's the video that I actually wanted to make, and I may still make it anyway. But it just doesn't seem like I had 4 options, and 3 of the options got 1 vote each, and the Vietnam video got 0 votes. So I don't know what to think of that. But I am trying to get my community, such as it is, more involved in shaping, what kinds of videos that I make, because I don't have, I feel like my last couple of videos have underperformed, and I don't really know why. And I honestly think that part of it is that YouTube is very dedicated to pushing my one lens review. That is a good point. That's a very good point. Um, I just feel like I said, I think part of it is that as far as the algorithm is concerned, it is pumping my one video that was my lens review of the lens that I'm using to shoot this live stream. Um, and I have no idea. I was talking about this with a friend last night. I have no idea why that video um, got like boosted in the algorithm to the degree that it has. Like, I don't know what separates that video from the rest of my other videos. I don't know why. I, I don't know why that video has 50,000 views. Um, like, I don't know why it has done as well as it has in comparison to my other stuff, which is a real problem when you're trying to, I obviously did something right, I guess, unless it has nothing to do with me. Um, but I don't know, like, my creative process and philosophy um, for like what goes into a video is pretty consistent between videos. So I don't know why that video got singled out to be pushed. I don't know. I have no idea. But like 3 months after release, that's still the video of mine that is getting the most views on like a daily basis. And I feel like, yeah, no, I get that for sure. I mean, that's how I do feel like that video, the lens review of the 17 to 40, is one of my best videos. But I don't think it's like head and shoulders above. Like, I feel like I have made higher quality videos than that one. Um, that have not performed nearly as well. Like the video that I did, the gimbal review that I did last year, has done very well. I think it has. Let me look up how many views it has. Um, doo, doo, doo. Has about 7,000 views right now, which is, more than my average video gets. But I feel like that is probably a higher quality video than the lens review one. And then I have, the first lens review that I did, the one of the Viltrox 28mm f4.5, which was almost like a throwaway. Like, it was 5 minutes. Like, it was not a long or particularly in-depth video. And there wasn't like, I didn't exactly shoot a ton of B-roll for it. I did have a lot of like photos showcased in the video, but it was a short video. Like, it was 5 minutes long, and that has over 10,000 views, and I have no idea why. And like, I there's no rhyme or reason to it. Like, I feel like at times I feel like I have a good sense of what the algorithm rewards, and other times I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea. Like, I just try to make the best quality videos that I can, and put them out into the world. I think at the end of the day, but I have I have no idea why certain videos do better than others. I really don't. But I think the thing that, like, I think the thing that I really need to work on the most is like my thumbnail game. I think that, like, because like maybe that's um what pushed that one video so hard, is that it had a really high click-through rate, like significantly higher than I think a lot of my other videos. And it had a good thumbnail, but I don't know. I don't know how I would translate that into some of my other videos. Like some of like I feel like I don't know. I don't know why I feel like I'm obviously like I try to make every video have a good thumbnail, and that was obviously a very strong thumbnail. But I don't know how I make how I essentially capture lightning in a bottle again, as far as like because like for this video that I'm doing with the studio tour, it seems like the most obvious route forward is just to do like a side by side comparison of me in essentially the unlit room or the room like my this office with the house lights, and then have do like a side by side of that versus with the studio lights on. That seems like the most obvious thumbnail to have, uh, and it's what people. I think it's what people normally do for these kinds of videos is that kind of turn this to this kind of concept for the thumbnail. Um, but I don't know. It just seems kind of boring to me. I mean, I realize it's the thumbnail that is probably going to perform the best, but I don't know. It doesn't inspire me, and I think that like I have a resistance to doing the kind of like clickbaity BS that does reward that YouTube does reward because it causes people, even though people hate clickbait, it causes you to click. Like, what are you gonna do? There's no getting around it, and like I think that as a channel who has built my I don't know brand identity on being I don't know level headed and somewhat reserved and just like I don't know a steady hand essentially. Like I try I for as long as I have been doing reviews, like the tagline has been no hyperbole. Like the anti hyperbole reviewer is, and that is something I have tried to carry forward into from my blogging days, tried to carry forward onto YouTube. And I think it's something that a lot of people, I get a lot of comments about how people appreciate that I am not like saying things are the best thing ever. But, and that sort of brings up like one of my pet peeves about titles specifically is that I think my most disliked subgenre of YouTube title is when people say that some variation of is X the best product category ever? Like, is X the best? And these are people who like the only reason they are saying that is because the product has been sent for them to review. They don't have a body of experience. They don't have like a body of knowledge and like other experiences with other products in the category, either at similar price points or higher price points or sometimes even lower price points. It's just what they've been sent to review, by a brand that wants to get eyes on their product. And the most effective way to get people to click on the video is to say, oh, well, is it, like this microphone. Like, if I really wanted to, get people to click on the eventual video that I'm making about this microphone, like, I would say, is the Fifine 668 the best budget microphone? I have no way of making that statement. I haven't used any other budget microphones. It is probably not. It is probably not the best budget microphone. There are a lot of budget microphones out there. Like, and for YouTubers to uh, without that sort of comparative base to make these statements from, they're essentially, making they are making statements about products in isolation that cannot be made in isolation. And I realize they're doing it to get people to click on the video, but it bothers me. It bothers me every time I see it. So, um, I can't do it. I can't engage in that. And the video was probably not going to do well as it could. Um, if I were to engage in that kind of behavior, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to make that title. You know, I think that a more I think that for this microphone specifically, I think the angle that I'm going to probably going to have to go with is actually saying, I swapped from a $200 mic to a $60 mic, something along those lines, and like, honestly asking the question, like, what did I give up by doing that? Which, again, you can tell me how I sound, because I don't know how I sound. I use the mic, like I said earlier in the stream. I used this mic to record my studio tour video, but I slapped EQ on it. I processed, I recorded the mic into my Zoom F3, 32-bit float, whatever, and I ran the audio through Auphonic. So obviously it's going to sound a lot better. But and I'm going to talk about that in the video too. Like, you should always be using EQ, if you are particularly if you are not like doing a live stream. And even if you have a live stream, I'm sure there are ways that you can process your audio before it hits the live stream. Yeah, I use Auphonic because, as I have said many times, even though I'm not a headphone reviewer, I am not a mixer. I am not a production professional. So EQ is something outside of EQing headphones, like EQing a microphone and EQing my own voice is not something that, it's not something that I feel comfortable doing from scratch. So I feel I have been very happy with the results I've gotten from Auphonic, and feel totally comfortable entrusting my audio to it to do its magic on its own. And I think that, I have been coasting along for the last year at least using Auphonic to process my audio on the free tier. And with, the ability, I have not felt the need to pay for the paid tier because I don't come anywhere close to using up. I think you get 2 hours a month of audio processing, and if you feed it like the final result after you're done editing your video, you at the rate that I shoot and record videos, I don't come anywhere close to using the full 2 hours because my videos are normally anywhere from 7 to 12 minutes long. And I'm normally shooting, let's say, an average of 3 videos a month. So like that's like a half hour. It's like a half hour of audio processing that I use. So I'm well within the free tier. The only disadvantage of Auphonic is that on the free tier, they add like a pre and post jingle to your audio, which they started doing, which is another another nudge to actually pay for the service. But what I found is that you can, because I um, export my, like, the cut audio, like I export the cut audio. It's not processed, but it's like I've made all the cuts in like my A roll. So it's the audio in terms of the actual content, it is what it's going to be. So I have that as one track, and I mute it, and then I process that track using Auphonic, and then I will just sync the audio in DaVinci Resolve. And I think most non-linear editors at this point have a way to sync based on waveform. So I just can cut out the bits of the audio that have the jingles. So it's no trouble at all just to get rid of it. So I have no reason to actually pay for the service. But I may walk people through that in the review of I think the studio version is absolutely worth it, particularly because it's a flat fee, that as opposed to Adobe scam monthly fee. The DaVinci just keeps getting better and better, and I feel like I've seen this sentiment online to some degree, but DaVinci Blackmagic Design seems very good at using AI and machine learning for things that actually enhance the workflow as opposed to generative bullshit. Um, like I think one of the AI features in DaVinci Resolve that I use on every single video is the AI enabled transcription feature. Because what I do is that I will import, like I've said before, I record my video for my video, the audio for my videos separately. I record it through the Zoom F3 from my XLR mic, and I will import the audio file from the SD card that it records to, and I'll import it into DaVinci Resolve, and then I'll transcribe that audio, and then I use the transcription of the audio track to mark in and out where my good takes are, and then I'll just cut to those. So I'll actually I'll drag the full raw audio tab or full audio track onto the timeline, and it'll have, by the time I mark in and out, or I add markers to every beginning of a good take and every end of a good take, and I just split the timeline at every one of those markers and cut out the in-between parts. And it's sped up my my video editing by so much. It used to take me so much longer to edit down to the good takes of my videos, and it's been a game changer. It has been an absolute game changer to have that transcription feature. Something I keep meaning to mess with is the AI, the depth map, and the haze feature, particularly now that I have a more powerful GPU. I don't know, and maybe I'll experiment with this after the stream. I don't know how it would look on sort of my more recent videos where the background is a lot more brightly lit than it used to be, but I think it would be interesting just to see how it looks because haze is always cool. The depth map and the haze feature are really neat. I don't know what else. I'm sure there are other cool AI features in DaVinci Resolve, but I'm having trouble. Oh, AI Magic Mask. That's a game changer right there. I mean, I just the something that I've used that for many times is sometimes I will, I'll have a B-roll insert of an object, and the object, particularly if it's a piece of filmmaking gear, is black, anodized metal, and sometimes it's not exposed as brightly as it needs to be. And without having to change the overall exposure of the image, I can just hit the object that I want to be brighter with AI Magic Mask and track it through the shot, and increase the exposure of. Really? I I would have to check that because I've just used I've had great results with AI Magic Mask. But maybe I would have better. Maybe I would also have better results with the old version. Like I used it for there was one particular shot in my last video where my hand in one of the overhead shots was kind of underexposed, and I used AI Magic Mask um, to isolate my fingers in the shot so that I could raise the exposure of it. And I thought it looked great. Um, but again, maybe I need to try the legacy version. What were you trying to? Mm, huh. I have not had that problem. Um, I've used it for like if I'm sitting in my normal talking head spot and I'm holding the like if I am holding a camera up to the camera essentially, um, and this would be something I could have solved by actually just lighting the scene correctly, but I didn't feel like changing my lighting setup. But if I'm sitting more or less where I'm sitting right now, or like closer to here, looking at the camera and um, holding a camera up here, the softbox that is up here actually overshoots the camera, so it doesn't catch any of the spill, which means that the camera. I think this actually happened in that review of the Sigma 17 to 40, where I had to use AI Magic Mask to brighten the exposure of the A6700 with the lens, because I was holding it essentially past the path of the light of the softbox, and it wasn't lighting it enough. And I thought it worked great for that, or as well as I could have expected it to. But they keep updating it. And then I used it in my last video to brighten my fingers on one of the shots where I was like manipulating the gobos on my desktop for the newer filmmaking flashlight. So I am. I haven't. You would think that it would be better at people though, as opposed to like isolated objects, but maybe not. Oh, I don't know how to do. I can't do keyframes. Like that's just I have tried to figure that out, and it's too much for me. It's that's some galaxy brain stuff. Uh, Editing is honestly like my least favorite part of making videos. To be perfectly honest with you, like the editing process is just a pain in the butt, and like I don't know how to do like the like things like speed ramps. Um, I it's I have not been able to wrap my brain around it. You know, I am very much um well, yeah, I mean that's a good thing because you do it professionally. Um, I I think it I would like, and I think there's a again, there's like an AI platform I think called Descript, which will do it for you, where you can like feed the AI what the script should be, and it will cut for you. And that seems like a great use of AI. Like I would happily do that, but it's I don't think you can you I don't think you can export in the I don't think you can export in 10-bit on the free tier of Descript. You would have to pay for it, and maybe that's as much as I dislike having to do the transcription trick to do my editing, I would rather do that than pay for Descript. So it is what it is. You I will live with having to manually edit my videos for now, um, particularly because my videos generally are not super long. It's not the end of the world. But I am always trying to make the best 10-minute video that I can, rather than trying to pad things out for 20 plus minutes. That's just not how I roll. I don't know. I think the brevity is a virtue, which I think we've talked about before. Yeah, I mean, I would I would love to get better at editing, particularly. You know, on the one hand, I would love to be able to incorporate some like faster edits and like quick cuts in my videos. Um, but I also feel like it kind of goes against the spirit of the channel, like particularly for like more of like my environmental meditation type videos. Um, Part of the important part of those videos is being able to sit with a shot and like have a composition that is worth sitting with for a few minutes, um, as opposed to just blink and it's gone. I just I don't really think that's how, and I don't think that's what my audience wants from me either. I don't think my audience expects me to have like flashy editing. I think that's kind of not what people are here for. So, um, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't feel like the um I don't feel like what is the term? I don't feel like my specialization or the value added proposition of this channel is flashy editing, and I don't think anyone expects it to be. You know, the channel has grown for reasons other than my editing skills, which is fine. I need to actually watch your videos. I will do that after this stream, I think. I just, I don't know. Put that into YouTube. Yeah, I mean that's always how it happens. Is you'll go above and beyond to do something, and it doesn't. The algorithm just doesn't reward it for whatever reason. I mean that's how I felt about my most recent video where I thought I had a cool idea for an intro where I essentially had my A6400 on a magic arm suspended from the ceiling, and fire like shooting down at me as I was recreating shooting the thumbnail for my previous video. And then I had my A6400 recording as I was setting up the shot from the ground level, and I was cutting between those two perspectives as I was recreating shooting the thumbnail for my latest IEM comparison video, and I thought it looked really cool, but below average retention. So I don't know what to think about that. I don't know. We will see what comes of, again, we will see how this studio tour video does, because I am, again, there's essentially like a minute and a half commercial in the first 3 minutes of the video, and if I can post it myself, I will do video chapters, and I will clearly mark that as a brand partnership, so that people can skip ahead of it if they want to. But if I do have to just send the video file to the brand that sent me the smart shades, then we will see what happens. I probably won't know what happens, because I won't have access to the analytics. I will just have to see how many views it gets on someone else's channel. But well, I guess we will find out. I am probably going to call it relatively soon. My mouth is getting tired, which is a weird thing to say, but like my jaw is starting to hurt. So I'll try to make it as close to 4 as I can in terms of keeping going. Yeah. So yeah, I have fallen behind, I feel like. I normally have a better. I felt like I was setting a really good pace in terms of getting out videos consistently last year and into the first month or two of this year. But like I said in my post the other day, I feel like a lot of the video ideas that I have right now are somewhat high effort in terms of shooting B-roll. And I haven't had time. And I think I've been less motivated than usual over the past month to actually shoot B-roll, which is unfortunate. I mean, I don't know. because I need to shoot the Vietnam rig breakdown, which is going to involve setting up my overhead setup with my. What I do is I have a C stand that I normally have my tube light modifier attached to for my back and hair light. But what I do is that I have on the one end of that C stand arm, I have the Nanlite FC 120B attached to it, which has the light bank modifier attached to it. And then on the other end, I have a mini ball head, which I swing it around, and I attach my camera to that, and that's how I shoot my top-down shots. Is have that suspended above the desk. So I will need to set up that that overhead setup for the Vietnam rig breakdown video. So we will see how that goes. That's probably the video I'll do the A roll for of after this stream, after I've given my mouth some time to recover. But the other video that I'm working on, I have the other video that I have a completed script for is the video that I'm doing or going to be doing about why I am not switching to full frame. So I have a full script there, and I don't know. I need to figure out what I'm going to do in terms of B-roll for that video. I'm going to need to borrow my my friend's Lumix S9. Hey, Walkie. Yeah, I mean, that's interesting because normally people, my suspicion typically is that people are here for one or the other. But I don't know. It's almost like a mechanical headpens moment for you, I guess. Is that kind of I am interested in a lot of things, and I try to make content about all of the things that I'm interested in. And if people happen to also be interested in all of those things, hopefully there's something for everybody. But and that's sort of the thing. I feel like I've talked about this in previous live streams. Is that the split in terms of which videos perform the best is basically even. Where I obviously my 17 to 40 video is the best video, my best performing video on the channel. It has 50,000 views at this point. But if you go down the list of my top 10 performing videos, it's camera, headphone, camera, headphone, camera, headphone. There's not a clear split in terms of which kind of video does better. So I don't necessarily have a reason to prioritize one kind of content over the other, and I don't think I would want to. This is something I've talked about at length before, is that I don't want to focus on just one thing here on the channel, and I feel like that hurts me to some extent with the algorithm. But maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, that's another video I need to do. Is it's been about 2 years since I first picked up the A6700, and I need to do a long-term review video about it. That's on my list. But that is going to be a really long video, and that's going to take a lot of work. So I haven't even gotten to scripting that. I really need to set aside some time and really set down my thoughts so I can work on that script. But that's going to be a monster video. I think that I don't know. I think that I'm certainly happier with the camera than I was pre getting the 17 to 40, if that makes sense. Like I feel like the 17 to 40 really makes APS-C worthwhile in a lot of ways, at least on Sony. All right, Val, it's great to have you here as always, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day as well. So I will see you next time. And I will probably, for anyone else who's in here, I will try to make it as close to 4 as I can. Um, but I will probably sign off around then, if the conversation dies down. Because I started at 2, and I've been going since then. There wasn't really anyone in the stream until so that is an excellent question. I have a script. I have a script written for going over the rig that I took to Vietnam, and the things that I brought to Vietnam that I didn't end up using. So yes, to a certain extent. I think the short version of that video, or the short version of that video script, for your benefit, and obviously please watch the full video when it comes out, because I would really appreciate it. But the short version is that I took way too much shit. I took way too much stuff. I brought all of this like supplemental gear that I did not need, in large part because I was planning on doing more of like a cinematic vlog type situation, where I was going to actually like record like my thoughts on the days, and the travels, from my hotel room. So I brought a shotgun microphone, and I brought lighting equipment, and I brought my Zoom F3, and I brought supplemental support gear like a magic arm, and just all this stuff that I was gonna record my thoughts about the trip from my hotel room while I was still in Vietnam, and that did not happen for a variety of reasons. But I've talked about this, and I will talk about it again. I am not good at vlogging, but also I was just too tired. By the time I got to be done with my day, every day of that trip, I was wiped out. My traveling partner and I, like, we planned on going out, drinking or whatever, like the first weekend we were there, and we just fell asleep, because our days had been so busy. We did not have the time or energy, and I did not have the time or energy to record videos at the end of the day, like thinking about the experience of the day. And it wasn't until I got back that I actually got to assembling the footage. So there were a lot of things I brought on that trip that I did not need. As far as the things I did need, realistically, I think that having the camera, obviously, having a good zoom lens is essential. I think that having one really like low f-stop prime lens is probably a good idea, for low light. I brought the Viltrox f1.2 75 millimeter, but I didn't really use it. Probably there was one point in the trip where I probably could have used it, but it was more like the one sort of like time we went out and I knew it was going to be a low light, like extreme low light, was more of like an environmental. I was like taking a picture or taking a time lapse of a lake at night or at sunset. So it didn't make sense to bring essentially a portrait lens. So I didn't even use it for that. I don't think I used the 75 millimeter for the whole trip. So really, I just used the 17 to 40 for basically every shot I took on that trip. Um, so I think the importance of having a good zoom lens that you trust is super important. So camera, zoom lens, um, a tripod. Here's the thing, I think you need a mini tripod, and I think you need either a monopod or like a real tripod that gets decently high. I think you need both. Um, and probably I'm trying to think of the one other thing that I think that having some sort of magic arm is also a good idea, like with a super clamp and a way of attaching the camera to it securely so that you can get sort of more unorthodox shots. Like there was one shot in my Vietnam video where I'm walking through LAX with my suitcase, and I actually have the camera mounted to the suitcase with a magic arm, and as I'm dragging it along, and I think just having the magic arm for that shot alone was worth it. Um, but I think that in terms of support gear, you know, I am someone who shoots a lot of essentially stationary handheld. So a lot of like tripod-ish shots, just handheld, where I have a really beefy top handle, a really beefy NATO top handle from Nitsy that is just my absolute favorite. And I'm just hand holding and trying to keep the camera as still as possible. And gyroflow obviously helps, and I definitely made a heavy use of gyroflow in the video that I put out for Vietnam. Um, I think that depending on what camera system you're using, I was fine, and in general, in sort of like run and gun scenarios, I think you can manage with zebras. I don't think you need false color. Um, Obviously, Sony does not have false color built into their consumer cameras. But I didn't blow out. As far as I know, I did not screw up exposure on a single shot I took during that trip, because I have my zebras set to 94 plus, and I exposed as bright as I could without hitting that clipping point, and pretty much all of my shots were usable, which was great. Um, so I don't think I did not want to bring an external monitor with me, and I don't think you necessarily need to, unless for some reason, like, I wouldn't trust the histogram. I don't think that gives you enough information. I just think histograms are fiddly for video. But if your camera has zebras, I think that's enough. Um, but trying to think what else. I'm essentially walking you through the video um, right now. But like, I didn't want to bring an external monitor just because I felt like it would attract too much attention. And I think that was probably the right call. You want an ND filter, obviously. for shooting video. I'm trying to think what else makes sense. So, camera, zoom lens, prime lens for low light, mini tripod, larger travel tripod, magic arm, ND filter. I don't own a drone, so I can't speak to that. Like, I live in the DC area, so it's worthless to me to own a drone. I don't know that you need much else, unless you are planning on doing actual vlogging, in which case you would probably need some kind of wireless mic, preferably with 32-bit float. Other than that, I don't think, I think that filmmakers and YouTubing filmmakers especially are perennial overpackers. And maybe that's real, maybe that's just so that they can pad out the runtime of their what's in their camera bag videos. I certainly am guilty of that as well. But I don't think you need to bring a ton. I think that I don't know that I would have been able to fit everything that I needed in just a sling bag. But I don't use, and I've talked about this here on the channel before, but I don't use like a dedicated camera bag. I just use a regular like EDC style backpack, with with a complement of like modular packing cubes. But I probably could have gotten away with packing half the stuff I brought with me. So hopefully that helps. Absolutely. All right. When traveling, how that is? Ooh, no, that absolutely makes sense. That's a hard question. And my traveling companion, they didn't yell at me for being distracted on the trip necessarily, but they did yell at me for. There are a lot of points where like I would like stop in the middle of the road to like get a shot or whatever, and it was I don't know, mildly dangerous. But I think that I don't know, the it's a difficult balance to strike. I think that I, you know, for me, a lot of it was. I feel like for me, it was easier because I was taking the trip to make photography and videos. Like that was a core part of the trip, like purpose for me. So I didn't feel guilty about being on my camera the whole time. Like obviously there were times where like if we were sitting down to have a meal or we were getting coffee, as one does in Vietnam, the coffee is a crucial part of the experience. Um, but like for me, the documentation was the primary purpose of the trip. So I was focused on documenting it, and creating the best record of the experience that I could. So I may not be the best person to ask in this particular instance, because like being able to have you know documentation of the trip was like the primary purpose of going. Like I went to make content essentially, or art, or whatever you want to call it. Um, so And I think it depends on like if you're going with someone or if you're solo traveling. I think that in general you have more leeway for leaning towards the documentation aspect if you are solo traveling. But thankfully, my traveling partner knew that like taking photos and video was like a huge part of why we were going. So she didn't give me shit about it. So I don't know if that was as helpful, but I think that's the truth. Is that for me the documentation was what was the point. Absolutely. Do you have a trip that you're planning right now? Um, I don't know. I don't know where my next trip is going to be. Likely, because I went. Obviously, I just got back from Vietnam a couple months ago, and then my last trip before that was Norway for my honeymoon. Um, but I don't know what my next trip is going to be, or my next international trip is going to be at this stage. I would really like to get. I think I'd like to go to Japan, obviously, and Thailand is also pretty high on the list. Um, but other than that, I'm not super sure. I think the challenge has been that a lot of the places that I would like to go are not in Europe, and my wife really wants to go to Europe. She really wants to go to Greece, and I can't say that I am all that interested in going to Greece. Um, I would much rather go back to Southeast Asia. So, but you don't always get what you want when you're married. Nice. Yeah, Thailand is probably my next highest priority as far as going somewhere. Yeah, and for sure, noted about the hot weather. I mean, it was hot, it was really hot in Vietnam too. I was unprepared for how hot it was when we stepped out of the airport. So, at least in Ho Chi Minh City, it was really hot. We were in Da Lat, and that was not nearly as hot, but that was like more of like a mountainous area, so the climate was not nearly as bad. Now that I think about it, the one issue with Thai food is that I'm allergic to tree nuts, and that's always been a reason for not being able to eat Thai food here at home. So maybe that's not the greatest idea, but we will see. Anyway, I think he might be gone, but I'm gonna hang out for a couple more minutes, see if anyone else drops in. But if not, we're probably gonna wrap up the stream because I have been streaming for 2 hours and I am tired. Okay, sounds good. I appreciate you dropping in, and I normally stream on Sundays, not every Sunday, but when I do stream, it's on Sundays, and I try to give some notice ahead of time that I'll be doing a stream. But you enjoy the rest of your day as well. And for everyone else, I appreciate it more than you know. And until next time, this is Bedrock Reviews, signing off.